Good morning or good afternoon if you're on the East Coast. And Facebook, we're live. Hi, guys. I'm excited. This week's Keeping It Real is apparently a very hot topic because quite a few of you have already read my blog post and commented and shared some of your tips as well. So thank you. It's always helpful for you to just share some of your tips and tricks. My name is Susan Johnson. I am a nutritional therapy practitioner. I'm also the founder of the Kit Cancer Movement, and I'm a presidential diamond with doTERRA Essential Oils. And I use this space every week, and sometimes when I'm really good, daily, to really educate and empower you on how to live your healthiest life possible. So today we are going to talk about my favorite 3 tips to eating healthy on a budget. So how many of you have said, I have a really hard time convincing my spouse that I should buy organic at the grocery store, or we have a really hard time eating healthy because it's just too expensive. So I'm here to tell you that there are ways to do that, to keep the price down. And there was a time in my life with my family where we were living on a $600 a month budget and actually only purchasing organic, healthy foods. And that was for a family of 4. So been there, done that, had to work with a really tight budget and still choose healthy food. So I'm going to share 3 of my tips on how to do that. Number 1, shop the outside of the grocery store. So this might be common knowledge to some of you, but if you didn't realize already, the inside aisles of a store are where a lot of the packaged foods are that oftentimes are unhealthy. They're devoid of nutritional value. But if you stay on the perimeter of the grocery store, that's where you're going to find the foods that are alive. So produce, you're going to find dairy, you're going to find eggs, you're going to find the meat section on the outside of the grocery store. But as soon as you go down those middle aisles is where your kids are going to pull on your shirt and say, Mom, can I have this? Can I have that cereal? Can I have this treat? Can I have this box of cookies, right? Anybody else? Or is it just me? That literally every time I take my kids to the store, they are begging for things that they know they can't have. And that only happens when I go down the middle aisles. So if you stay the perimeter of the grocery store, you are going to save a ton of money because the packaged foods are where the price goes up. So that's tip number 1, shop the perimeter of the grocery store. Tip number 2 is make bone broth. You're probably like, wait, what? Why does this have anything to do with shopping healthy or eating healthy and shopping on a budget? The reason being is this actually can turn into potentially 3 or 4 meals from one batch of bone broth. So if you read the blog post that's in my profile on my Facebook page, for you on Instagram, I'm going to link it here momentarily. It's actually in my previous, my post from yesterday. You can find the blog post that I did about 10 tips to eating healthy. And you're going to find a link to my broth recipe there. The reason that broth will actually save you money is because one batch of broth, you can put 2 whole chickens in one batch of broth. You cook it for 24 hours, you pull the chicken off, the meat falls off the bones and can immediately be used for 2 of my favorite dishes that actually also turn into leftovers. The first one is a chicken enchilada casserole. You can find the recipe in the blog post. Everybody in my family loves that. The second option is a chicken salad. We'll do the night that I finish making the broth, I'll throw together a beautiful salad with just some shredded chicken on top. Avocados, I'll use my homemade ranch dressing, and that is one meal in itself, plus the chicken casserole that I made that I can freeze half of, and you now have broth to cook your beans and or rice for another meal. So one batch of broth, you guys, can turn into potentially 6 or 8 meals. So if you're consuming broth regularly, which you should be, and that's a whole nother topic, you are going to find that you're actually saving quite a bit of money at the grocery store. Okay, so that's tip number 2 is make and consume broth regularly. Tip number 3 might catch you off guard a little bit as well, but I find this really, really helpful, is to buy your meat in bulk. So that doesn't mean that you're going to Costco and buying your meat in bulk. That means you're actually purchasing a share of an animal. So for us, we purchase a quarter of a cow every year from our local farmer. Not only do we know that it is grass-fed and grass-finished and all organically raised, but now we have a quarter of a cow that will last my family of 4 an entire year. We don't eat beef every day. We eat beef probably 2 times a week, sometimes 3. When we purchase a quarter of a cow at a time, A, I don't have to butcher it. B, I don't have to cut it up and package it. Okay, it comes to you all butchered, all packaged, so you don't have to get all dirty with it. But you can tell them, you can specify what you want your meat to be. So for us, we do a lot of ground beef meals. We do taco bowls, we do burger bowls, we do meatballs. So it's easy. And I don't do a lot of roasts. I'm just going to be honest, I'm actually terrible at making roasts. I don't know how to do it. Every time I make them, I end up boiling the meat and it tastes terrible. So I don't do good roasts. What we do is we ask for all the steaks that would come with our cut of beef, and then the rest we turn into ground beef. Guess what this means? This means that a grass-fed, grass-finished organic ribeye steak is about $4 a pound. At the grocery store, a grass-fed, grass-finished ribeye steak would be about $15 to $16 a pound. You are saving tremendously when you buy your meat in bulk. And you're doing your body good because you are able to control the quality of the meat. You're only going to purchase, ideally, from a farmer who's raising grass-fed, grass-finished cows. So purchasing meat in bulk, you can also do that with lamb. We've purchased a lamb before, and again, you have them turn it into what you eat the most of. We've also purchased a pig before. We don't eat as much pork these days, but we purchased half of a pig before and turned it into bacon. And so there's a lot of ways, again, to save money and eat healthy. So those are my 3 tips. Number 1, shop the perimeter of the grocery store. Number 2, eat and make broth regularly. Number 3, buy your meat in bulk. And I have way more details and 7 more tips on the blog post. If you go to susanjohnson.com/blog, or I should say /blog, you will find the most recent post, which is 10 tips to eat healthy on a budget. So I hope that was really helpful. And I do see some questions, so I'm going to answer those really quickly while we're on here. Let's see. And thank you guys. Always ask questions. I love questions. Hi, Whitley. She's asking, do you get the same benefits by making bone broth in an Instant Pot? That is a great question, and the answer is no. Unfortunately, Instant Pots are really convenient, and I'm not saying they're the worst thing in the world, but you're cooking so high and so quickly that you are losing some of the nutrients in the broth. So if you had only one choice, if you're going to eat broth and the only way to do it was an Instant Pot, is it still going to do you a favor? It certainly will. But I suggest making your broth on a stovetop in a large stainless steel pot or a crock pot. A crock pot cooks low and slow, so that is an option as well. That's a really great question, Whitley, and I'm sure a lot of people were probably wondering the same thing. Awesome. I don't see any other questions, so if you guys have more questions, please comment below. I will come back in throughout the day and answer your questions. And thank you. Thanks for being on here, for trusting me. And I look forward to seeing you next week on our Keeping It Real series.